There's a round of new Nintendo Switch 2 news and updates I want to discuss with you all today, starting with some NSO updates specifically. As you might realize, you can now hop into Luigi's Mansion on the GameCube Classics library of games, which is a very cool one. And Nintendo also just announced a new free game trial that is tied to NSO that I do want to highlight with you all today. Then we have the full-blown confirmation, if you needed any more than what we've gotten so far, that Microsoft is a games publisher now. They're not focusing on exclusives or anything anymore at all, and this comes from the very top of their company. And also some specific comments about who they're competing with in the gaming market, getting a lot of talk going online, and I want to chime in with my 2 cents. Then, if you are somebody who is waiting for the YouTube app to one day show back up for the Switch 2 ecosystem, because of course that's available on Switch 1, not on Switch 2, we have some new comments from Team YouTube. Then we have a pretty cool launch for a Zelda collector's item that I want to highlight, especially if you want to see these things come around to the US market. This is essentially Nintendo confirming that they're testing it here, so we'll go over that. Then we have finally a rating for a Metroid Prime 4 demo, but there is more than meets the eye here, and it's not necessarily to set the expectation that we're getting an eShop demo, because I actually don't necessarily think we will into the game's release, but there is a legit demo rating headline going around that I want to unpack with you all in relation to the game. So we'll break all of this down, but before we do, make sure you like, subscribe, and turn on your bell notification to join Sunbro Nation if you're new here. And we will first kick it off with a quick reminder that Luigi's Mansion is now live in the Nintendo GameCube, Nintendo Switch Online Plus Expansion Pack Classics app. That is, of course, exclusive to Nintendo Switch 2. We still have plenty of GameCube games on the way, and this is a big one, a kind of a staple GameCube game. I mean, if you grew up in that generation or have any kind of nostalgia for this game, this is probably one that's literally the perfect time to boot up and at least get a little bit into once again, because, you know, we're right around the corner from Halloween. It's a spooky style game. Nintendo did time the release of this on the service very well, in my opinion. And unfortunately, with GameCube, when it comes to NSO so far, we've already seen them kind of skip a month. I mean, we're over a month out since we saw the last new edition with the Chibi Robo game, and it is one of those things that typically when there's a new console library, they stick to loosely once per month new update schedule. And I do expect to see some more GameCube games over the holiday season as we talk about them rounding out 2025. And we still have Mario Sunshine on the way, Fire Emblem Path of Radiance, Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness. Look up the price of that game used if you want to see if it's maybe worth playing through, or at least you know it has collector's value. That is going to be an exciting one to see hit the service. And then Pokemon Coliseum. That's what we know about officially so far. The sooner we get through the officially announced games, the quicker we can get on to some of the surprises with GameCube NSO, which will definitely be a big one. And then on the note of NSO updates, while we are talking about them, there is also, this goes for Switch 1 and Switch 2 users, by the way, and any level of the Nintendo Switch Online membership works. Disney Illusion Island is North America's latest Switch Online free game trial. And this is a cool 2D action adventure platformer, really designed around co-op play in mind. If you have any friends to pick up the controllers with you and go through, literally all 4 of you can play in local co-op at the same time. It is from October 29th to November 4th. With the free games trials that Nintendo does on NSO, you literally get the full game for free to play in those dates. Now, unfortunately, it is not you owning the game, and you could just go through it all in that one available window and not have to worry about adding it into your collection. But if you don't, then at that point, you know, you still have the save data and everything that can transfer into the full game if you ever buy it. And unfortunately, oftentimes these get announced and there's a sale attached to the game as well. We are still at the regular $29.99 price for Disney Illusion Island, but nonetheless, you could start it up for free, see if you like it, decide to purchase it now, or wait for it to go on sale in the future, because we have seen this game go on sale numerous times in the past. And then your save data will still be there if you want to pick it up on a sale down the line. But one cool extra update for Nintendo Switch Online members while we wait for Nintendo to continue to rotate out new content into that online classics library of games. Okay, moving on from here, some big comments that Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella has the entire internet talking about. As you can see, VGC has the write-up here where it says, Microsoft CEO agrees that Xbox competition isn't other gaming platforms, it's TikTok. Satya Nadella discusses the future of Microsoft's gaming division. And you have here, speaking to TBPN during a live stream on Tuesday, transcribed by VGC, Nadella was asked about his outlook on gaming in a month where Xbox announced Halo for the PS5 and is reportedly under pressure to hit unprecedented profit margins. Nadella used the segment to talk up Microsoft's gaming on Windows business, which noted it's the biggest and alluded to it bringing its next console closer to Windows. The next Xbox is widely expected to be essentially a PC like the recently released ROG Xbox Ally. Remember, the biggest gaming business is the Windows business, Nadella said. To us, gaming on Windows and of course Steam has built a massive marketplace on top of it and has done a very successful job. So to us, the way we are thinking about gaming is, first of all, we're now the largest publisher after acquiring Activision. So therefore, we want to be a fantastic publisher, similar in approach to what we did with Office. We're going to be everywhere on every platform, so we want to make sure, whether it's consoles, whether it's PC, whether it's mobile, whether it's cloud gaming or the TV, we just want to make sure the game is enjoyed by gamers everywhere. So that is full confirmation that Xbox is not only going to bring some titles to Nintendo Switch 2, but literally their entire library. They are going the route of a third-party publisher that also just has a PC essentially that they can sell you that will connect to your TV as well. I mean, that's really the direction they are heading for their next generation hardware. It is going to be a Windows PC that you don't have to boot up into Windows from the sounds of things, but it will literally have things like Photoshop and Adobe Premiere available to run on it. But you don't have to get into that Windows side of things if you just want to keep it console focused. You don't have to go into Windows, but it's literally going to be a PC that hooks into your TV, and it's going to support all the different storefronts, which is a really interesting business model. I guess Xbox is just going to promote Game Pass and try to make their revenue off of that when you do Game Pass. And obviously, when you release your games on the Steam store, Xbox would get a small kickback, smaller likely than what they would by selling it on their own store. But yeah, it's not going to be tied to the Microsoft store for your purchases anymore. And they're really just going to try to make the revenue from putting out their games on every available platform, including Nintendo Switch 2, mobile, and TVs. And listen, when we've talked about Phil Spencer's comments in the past and stuff like that, sometimes Phil will say one thing and then it's pretty clear that Satya Nadella is actually running the show, and Satya Nadella says something different, like Microsoft Gaming, in his interviews compared to the Xbox brand. And next thing we really see Microsoft actually align with what Satya Nadella is saying. So this is straight from the horse's mouth, the top of the food chain at Microsoft, and I fully expect it to go this direction. But then we do have some more interesting quotes about what they're competing against. And Nadella told TBPN, "We want to innovate work on the system side and the console side on the PC. And it's kind of funny that people think about the console and PC as two different things. We built the console because we wanted to build a better PC, which could then perform for gaming. And so I want to kind of revisit some of that conventional wisdom. But at the end of the day, console has an experience that is unparalleled. It delivers performance that's unparalleled, that pushes, I think, the system forward. So we're really looking forward to the next console, the next PC gaming." Finally, Nadella echoed comments made by Xbox's game boss Matt Booty last week, in which he claimed Xbox's biggest competitor was not another console, but TikTok and movies. Most importantly, the game business model has to be where we have to invent maybe some new interactive media as well, because after all, gaming's competition is not other gaming. Gaming's competition is short form video, Nadella said. And so if as an industry we don't continue to innovate both how we produce and what we produce, how we think about distribution, the economic model, right, the best way to innovate is to have good margins, because that's the way you can fund. So yeah, obviously with the core gaming community like you and I, this does not resonate at all, because yes, quite literally, gaming is versus other gaming. I'm either going to spend my time going through Pokemon Legends ZA that I recently purchased for my Switch 2, or Ghost of Yote that I still need to get around to playing on my PS5. But quite literally, I could pick up one or the other and make that choice as a multi-console gamer. So yes, that is actually for me a core gamer, and definitely in the more enthusiast level of the audience, how I think about and see how I spend my time with a gaming brand. It's going to be based off of the games I want to play, and or does it offer me a better experience? I picked up Silksong on my Switch 2 so I could take it on the go with me, and I clocked in almost 70 hours in that game and currently stuck on the true final boss of Act 3, which by the way is an insane fight. Just no spoilers, but dear God, that game is difficult. So I'll get through that and then continue on with the next games I'm playing, but it's not necessarily competing so much with TikTok and short form video in my mind. However, I do actually think that the internet's reaction to this is kind of funny, because he's not entirely wrong if you look at the younger generation. And that's what I kind of see as where you can kind of compare this, especially kids who have grown up with mobile devices in their hands. Like, they're going between YouTube Shorts, TikTok, and then Roblox being like the other game that they just hop into and spend all their time with, to the point where sometimes they don't care about these traditional console games or these big, what we thought of as household names, near as much. Like, it really is strange to see the younger generation gravitate towards the mobile side of things way more, but it is a reality of where things are headed for the long term, I think. So I don't know if Microsoft is really going to be around in the traditional sense as a gaming hardware brand in people's mind as they've been for all these years up to this point in time. I do believe they're going to just go this full third-party route, throw their stuff on everything, as Satya Nadella is saying, and they're going to just try to get in the younger crowd with creating some kind of new, more interactive entertainment experience, which sounds like a nightmare to me and something that I'm not probably going to pick up and check out. If you have some kind of like half short form video on your Microsoft app, but then it's somehow interactive because it has like mini games. I don't know what they're thinking, but you get the idea. To me, that sounds terrible. To the future generation and kids growing up right now, they might pull it off in a way that none of us really see coming or make sense to us, but we'll have to see how it all falls. But at the end of the day, expect a lot of Microsoft content and Xbox content on Switch 2 from here, because as they have more time with those dev kits like we talked about in yesterday's video, pretty much everything is coming over from the sounds of things. Okay, from here we have YouTube team is working to bring the app to Switch 2. Don't worry, you'll have your mukbang soon enough. This comes to us from Go Nintendo. And you have here over on social media, the official team YouTube page has said that they're working on working with Nintendo to make YouTube available on the Switch 2 soon. That's surely news that'll make a lot of Switch 2 owners happy, as plenty of people use their original Switch to kick back and watch YouTube content on. So this is something that I do not personally do, but I've definitely seen it in the comments where people are waiting. They're wanting to know when YouTube's going to hit the Switch 2 as an available app. So far, it has not been there this entire console generation, which is only, a few months to be fair, but still, it was something that was available on the Switch 1, and Nintendo's been really interesting with their multimedia apps in the modern day. Like, we technically had a more robust lineup back on the Wii, so, and Wii U especially, so it is one of those things where they've pulled back from some of that stuff. Why? I'm not sure. The more options, the better, and I can see the appeal with an 8-inch display if that's like the main device you're on and you just want to hop over to YouTube to check something in between a gaming session. Why switch devices if you have it available on your Switch 2? So I do think it makes sense for Nintendo to bring all these apps over. YouTube will be coming, it's confirmed. It's just Team YouTube's for some reason taking their sweet time with it, and apparently they're working with Nintendo on getting it finalized. But a little update for those still waiting on when we might see YouTube make it to Nintendo Switch 2. Okay, from here we have a pretty cool post for collectors of the Legend of Zelda franchise, and specifically regarding music. If you are into that, you're gonna want to show up for this, because it truly is a test of the market on how US will respond to this in terms of a buy rate. So you have here from Nintendo of America, the music of the Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild is coming to vinyl. A 2 LP set with 34 tracks and an 8 LP box with 130 tracks will be available starting on June 19th, 2026 in both black vinyl and limited edition colored vinyl. And you have pre-order links, you have full-scale images. I will go ahead and remove my camera here so you guys can see them just a little bit closer. But this is what they are revealing. And listen, those vinyl discs are actually beautiful looking. I mean, the Triforce, the overall color contrast and everything, and just, the actual artwork, that's large artwork at that's available on a vinyl, really cool to see. And listen, me being a lifelong Legend of Zelda fan, not so much of a vinyl collector, but lifelong Legend of Zelda, I'm gonna have to go ahead and pick this one up. But you can also see the following post from Wario64, where he does outline truly the fact that this is a legitimate test from Nintendo in terms of how our market responds to it. So it has, in the Japanese market, CD is still pretty prominent format there, and they have a lot of video game soundtracks on CD in Japan, and they've been doing that for years and years. Nintendo Vice President, Player and Product Experience Manager Bill Trennan told Variety, here in the US, we haven't been releasing much in the way of physical soundtracks at all. And so partly this is a little bit of us trying to gauge and understand what the demand for physical soundtracks in the United States is. Part of this is also simply an interest in trying to bring video game music to a broader audience, and it's part of a few steps we've taken. So again, if you want this stuff to be around in the US, if you want to see more of this stuff, maybe a Tears of the Kingdom edition of the soundtrack on vinyl in the future, and that's a big deal to you, show up for this, because the more that this sells, apparently the more it will be on Nintendo's radar that they will continue to do stuff like this. And if this is a total commercial failure and they really don't, make back the kind of finances that make this make sense again for them to do in the future, we'll probably never see another music collector set, or maybe we'll get one for Mario here and there, and they'll test the water with different franchises occasionally. But Zelda makes the most sense for this type of collection, in my opinion, and I will definitely be watching this one when it does go up for pre-order and all of that, and expecting a mid 2026 launch in June of 2026 to be exact. Okay, finally closing us out here, we have some talk of a Metroid Prime 4 demo online, but it's probably not what you think on the surface. So a rating for Metroid Prime 4 Beyond demo just surfaced, but it might not be what you think. And you have here, scrolling on down, it's been discovered that the German USK, the ratings board for games, has listed a rating for a Metroid Prime 4 Beyond demo. While the listing was just discovered now, the rating was applied all the way back in March of this year. That could mean that the rating was for a demo that was showcased at public events rather than a demo that would be distributed via the Switch or Switch 2 eShop. So there's no way of knowing for sure if this is a demo that was just rated very early for something like the eShop, but more than likely, since this goes back to March of this year when Nintendo was ramping this thing up to be at hands-on events with their Switch 2 experience stuff and all of that they were doing, it's likely that that's actually the demo rating that this is tied to. And on the surface, I would like to see a demo for Metroid Prime 4 just to expose more people to it that might not opt to spend $60 or $70 on the game on Switch 1 or 2, and they can maybe, play the opening section of the game, get that hook set in for the combat mechanics and beat that first boss, and then you kind of get the idea that you're going to go into a much broader adventure, and the game cuts off and you can transfer your save data into the main game. I think that would actually potentially help expose Metroid to a larger audience, but with recent releases in mind and things like what we've seen Nintendo do with Metroid recently with Dread. Dread came out, no demo available, and then we did actually get an update to the game a few months later that added in an easy difficulty in addition to a free demo for the game. So I wonder if Nintendo would just launch Prime 4 with a demo like available day one, or if it would be something where they would use that same strategy where later on we might get an eShop demo, but not necessarily at launch. So if you are seeing headlines out there suggesting a Metroid Prime 4 demo, it's still very much a coin flip on what to expect with that. But I do certainly hope that we see Nintendo really ramp up the marketing for this game very soon, as December 4th will be here before we know it. So let me know in the comments down below what you make of all the different stories we talked about today. Are you playing Luigi's Mansion anytime soon now that it's in NSO? What do you think about the free trial for Disney Illusion Island? Microsoft in their gaming division right now, are you excited just to see their stuff all go third party? And what do you think about Satya Nadella's comments? Are you kind of like in my mindset with it, where maybe he's thinking future generation and not as core gamers, or does the statement just not make sense at all? YouTube on Nintendo Switch 2, do you care about that at all? Would you be picking up some kind of vinyl collection for The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild? And do you think we're getting a Metroid Prime 4 demo at launch, or is this something unrelated, or just maybe down the pipeline we will see it added in after the game launches? So make sure you share all your thoughts and feelings in the comments down below before you leave, regardless if we agree or disagree. Also make sure you do like, subscribe, turn your notification bell. And with that, I've been Sunbro, you've been Nation. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.